It's the first time I use this. Let me check here. But it's not showing on 1 second. You know what? I will make 1 second. It's not showing. I'm checking my YouTube channel to see if it's there. Content. Um, 1 second. How was your day, my friend? Busy?
No, so far so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So far so good. So
You're a smart dude, man. I recall when we were at Accenture. All right, Michael, we are live now. I think we can start. Bonsoir les amis. I'm having an echo. 1 second. Let me pause this. Bonsoir les amis, c'est Christian et bienvenue sur à Franchi. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'honneur de recevoir un expert en immobilier. Il est basé à Toronto, au Canada. Euh, Vous savez, avec moi, avec le groupe salarié affranchi, vous investissez dans les crypto-monnaies depuis un bon moment. Et je prends cette opportunité juste pour que vous ayez la- euh, l'opportunité de pouvoir penser à comment diversifier vos biens après le bull run. OK? Parce qu'il est important d'y penser maintenant, savoir comment prendre ces gains-là et les repositionner dans des véhicules d'investissement plus sûrs, un peu comme l'immobilier. Il y a un ami, un ancien de mes étudiants qui m'a contacté, qui s'est fait beaucoup de millions dans les crypto-monnaies, qui a investi dans l'immobilier. Maintenant, il voulait savoir un peu comment investir dans ce qu'on appelle ici au Canada multifamily unit. Et j'ai eu la chance de connaître un expert dans le domaine qui s'appelle Mike Beer. C'est mon invité aujourd'hui. Et je les ai mis en contact, ils ont échangé. Après, je me suis dit, pourquoi ne pas prendre l'expérience de Mike Beer et de partager avec ma communauté en général. C'est pour ça que Mike Beer a pris le temps aujourd'hui d'accepter mon invitation et de partager son expérience avec vous. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les lui poser, OK? Mark, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Again, as I mentioned earlier, most of the people in this forum are French speaking, but I would say 50% understand English very well. It won't be a problem. And where translation is required, I'll be doing so. To start, could you please just provide a quick introduction about yourself?
awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. Maybe you can do like subtitles at the bottom, like translation.
Yes, I'll be doing that. Yes,
And then if any of your audience speaks Spanish or Polish, then definitely I can
that will help
send
too.
them but yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm a multifamily investor here in Canada. I'm located close to Toronto and basically been living here most of my life in Canada. And a little bit about me is when I was a child, we left from Poland when I was 10 years old. It was communist at the time, so my parents we actually literally escaped the country. So long story short, they told the officials we're going on vacation to Norway, and then we still haven't come back from that vacation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a much different country today, but at the time, tremendous opportunities in Canada. So we came with slept on like blow up mattresses in an apartment, and it was quite an experience. But fast forward a bunch of years. I've had the opportunity to work with Christian in some consulting companies where some of that experience is really transferable into real estate. I've been investing in real estate for well over a decade. Started off with smaller kind of student properties, then moved on to smaller multifamily, and then I was fortunate of getting a mentor which has $1 billion portfolio, and we've known each other for well over 4 years. So he's been kind of coaching me to grow this larger space, and then now we're by apartment buildings here in near Toronto, specifically in Ontario, and then this is it's a growing kind of business. Tremendous opportunities here, so pretty excited about talking to you about real estate specifically here.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. And what our Mark has noted here, basically, you are an immigrant to Canada like you came to Canada when you were a little boy. And also the second thing you mentioned, that you work very hard, and you save a lot of money, and you invested on the first property. Now you have multiple of multi-family units. And also one thing you mentioned that I really want to share with my audience is that that mentor you were talking about. Then to succeed in this field, sometimes you really need someone to hold your hands and to show you how the system works, right? That is some key point I note here. And during our interview, I'll be touching some of these points. Thank you for that introduction. Michael, usually when people speak about real estate, one of the difficulty they have is to find the fund, the loan, or the initial investment to jump in the wagon of the real estate investment. Based on your own experience, how do you start building that cash perhaps for a first deposit or for a first down payment? How do you get to that level?
You know what? I would say there are a few challenges, and I think a lot of investors like talking about these kind of tangible things. So I don't have the money, or I can't find a deal. There's no good deals out there. But really, I would say it's just that it's a question of knowledge, understanding, and then more of mindset, right? Because for me, I think I made one of the bigger mistakes in my lifetime. What I did is, don't do this. I paid off my entire mortgage before I started investing in real estate.
All right.
So because I was traveling globally for a consulting company and then earning I guess a fairly good salary. So I was able to kind of save quite a bit, but delayed the whole real estate journey. So if I was going to do it again, I would do it a lot quicker, and I would borrow money from, I don't know, family, friends, or whoever is near to get into it faster. But I think the biggest thing that helped me jump on the property is not just education, because I think a lot of people like to watch a bunch of YouTube videos and then
Yes.
educate and read and then do more of it, and then just there's just this kind of endless learning and then not taking action. But I'll tell you a little bit of a story. So when I was 6 years old, we went to the pool with my sister. She was 12, and we were supposed to pass this like certificate that you can swim, so that you can rent like little like kayaks and then equipment. So So I could barely float. And then we went to this Olympic size pool, and my sister knew how to swim. They put us on a podium and said, basically swim, jump into the deep end and then swim across. Right. And then my sister kind of looked at it and she said, well, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. I'm not jumping into deep. And I was like 5 or 6 years old. I just jump in without thinking about it. Right. And then I
Yes.
actually started like going down underneath like a
Without
couple
knowing
meters
how to swim. That was
without
courageous
knowing
of
how to
you.
swim. And
Wow.
then I see the bubbles kind of coming, and then I see like this hand grab me and then pull me up, right? And it was the lifeguard. He pulled me up like a fish out of the water, and then basically like started yelling at my mom, like, "What do you have a kid that doesn't know how to swim? Jump in the deep end of the pool, right? Olympic
Yes.
pool." So I think that has carried me through life, and sometimes it's and then of course now I don't do stuff without analyzing and then learning all that stuff. But there's got to be a point where you say, enough is enough. I just got to make that leap and just
Yes.
buy it and just buy
Yes.
it. So one of the first properties I met one of my wife's friends, and he said, oh, I have some properties. I'm like, how many properties do you have? And he said, oh, I have 46 tenants. I thought, whoa, I
Wow.
want to have 46 tenants.
Yes.
And he's a realtor, so he took me. He said, okay, we'll take you to a couple properties, and we're just going to look. So we went to the first property. I did analysis on it. It seemed like a good deal, and then I bought it. That's it. First one.
Without even thinking.
With doing some
Some
analysis,
research. All right. Yes.
but this was a day, like one day of research, and I bought it. Maybe it wasn't the best property, right? Because I had some issues. It wasn't like 100% legal in a sense. There was like a 4-unit, but the 4th unit was kind of semi-legal. But you know what? In a few years, I doubled my money on that
Oh,
property.
excellent. How many
Still,
units
so
were there? How many
it's
units?
four,
Oh, 4 units
4 units.
first. All right. Yes.
Yeah. And then he told me like nobody buys a 4-unit as their first property. They usually buy a single family, right? So there is but it made sense to me at the time. So there is a certain like sense of like just taking a leap. Yes, you got to learn, you got to do the research, all that. But then there's a point where you say, you know what, I'm just going to do it and then see what happens. So I think that holds investors a lot, right? Rather than money, because money, there's ways to find money.
Money.
If you
All
have a
right.
good deal,
Yes.
you can, I don't know, present it to your mom, dad, uncle, and say, hey, lend me some money. Look, I have this amazing deal. It could work. Right? There's
Yes.
ways around it.
Yes. Then I have a question though. Like you mentioned the mentor earlier, right? Did you actually consult your mentor before you buy your first property, or you bought your first property without reaching out to the mentor first?
So at the time, I didn't have a mentor. I just had
Okay.
my
Yes.
wife's friend, but he was an investor, and then he told me like, this like on paper, this seems like a good deal.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I'm presenting it to you.
Yes.
And so that's it. It was more of like a 10-minute conversation about the deal, and then I kind of ran the numbers. So I guess he was sort of a little bit of a mentor to me. At least I
Yes.
looked up to him.
Yes.
Wouldn't you look up to a guy that has 46 tenants, right?
Exactly. I thought that was your mentor. Then now talk about the mentor. Then how do you reach out? I mean, you wanted to grow your portfolio. That's where and get more experience. That's when you decided to speak to a mentor. And how do you find that mentor?
That mentor or the current one?
I mean the current. I mean, I'm talking the current one because, like,
You know
yes,
what? We've actually he wasn't mentoring at the time when he used to a long time ago, and then he stopped. But I just met him at a real estate club
okay,
here in Toronto. So I met him, and then he didn't even want to mentor me or wasn't even doing it. But I met him, and he seemed to be like a fairly kind of similar to me in a sense, because he was an immigrant from Malta or
yes,
Italy, from Italy somewhere. And then he was kind of humble in a sense, and then I liked that a lot about him, and people spoke well of him. So yeah, I bothered him for a little bit before he said, "Sure, I'll mentor you."
Yes.
Right?
Nice.
It took a little bit of time, but it was by chance. So I wasn't like Googling, "Hey, real estate mentor," because I find that a lot of people that are kind of like flashy and showy
Yeah.
about the real estate business. They're just not my type of people
Yes.
because I'm not like that. I don't resonate with that, but some people do. And then a lot of them, like the coaching is their business. That's how they bring in money. But to me, it was important that the real estate side, that's what's making them, the lion's share of money. And then this is just like a byproduct where they're helping somebody,
Yes. Thank you,
right?
Mike. I will just do it like a quick summary for some of my folk who do not speak English. En sommet, Mike s'est introduit et il a dit, avant de se lancer dans l'immobilier, il a dû travailler pendant des années. Et en passant, j'ai travaillé avec Mike dans une grande compagnie de consulting ici à Toronto. Et on a eu l'opportunité de voyager un peu partout au Canada et aux États-Unis. Et on a créé une certaine amitié. Et après, j'ai constaté que Mike s'était spécialisé dans l'immobilier. Donc, il avait quitté le monde de la consultance pour se lancer dans l'immobilier. Et alors, on a échangé entre autres. Ce que Mike dit, en quelque sorte, c'est qu'il a travaillé pendant des années et il a épargné son argent, il a acheté sa première maison et il a payé sa première maison totalement. Il dit qu'il y a certaines personnes, quand ils paient leur première maison totalement, ils se contentent de ça. Mais lui, ce n'est pas ce qu'il a fait. Quand il a payé sa première maison totalement, il est tombé en contact, il est entré en contact avec, à travers l'ami de son épouse. Euh, C'était un mec qui avait 46 personnes qui louaient dans ses appartements, 46 personnes. Et il était fasciné par le succès de cet individu. Et cet individu, en quelque sorte, l'a coaché comment réaliser le même rêve. Alors, ce qu'il a fait, il a pris un peu d'argent qu'il avait épargné, il a acheté son premier multiplex. Ça veut dire qu'une maison qui avait 4 appartements. C'est avec ça qu'il a commencé. OK? Et quand il a acheté son premier multiplex, il a vu que ce n'était pas le meilleur multiplex, mais c'était une façon d'ancrer dans le marché. C'était la première chose. Donc, ce qu'il faut retenir de cette première conversation, c'est qu'il faut avoir un bon mentor. Et comme je l'explique le plus souvent dans notre chaîne de salariés affranchis, il faut avoir un bon mentor. Et la deuxième chose, c'est qu'il faut dire, c'est qu'à certains moments, il ne faut pas avoir toutes les informations parfaites pour se lancer. À certains moments, il faut se lancer. Il a pris un exemple quand il avait 6 ans, quand il était au Canada, quand il est arrivé au Canada, il ne savait pas nager. Et alors, il est allé dans une école de natation et on a demandé à ses frères et ses sœurs de plonger dans l'eau, quoi qu'il ne savait pas nager. Les autres avaient peur, mais lui, il a plongé. Ça montre en quelque sorte son mindset. Son mindset, c'est que c'est quelqu'un qui aime prendre le risque, c'est quelqu'un qui aime découvrir. Il n'a pas peur du risque, quoi. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'il dit qu'à certains moments, quand vous voulez investir, il ne faut pas trop analyser, il faut juste se lancer. Et quand on se lance, on apprend de ses erreurs en le faisant. En sommet, c'est ce qu'il a dit. Et aussi, il a dit de ne pas prêter attention aux gens qui sont flashy, qui aiment se montrer, qui aiment montrer leur bien, que ce n'est pas sa personnalité, que le plus souvent, les gens qui le font ne sont pas réels. OK? Que les gens qui possèdent vraiment des biens sont des gens un peu plus discrets. Donc, c'est ce qu'il a noté. Mike, I just did a quick summary of what we just spoke about. Now, like after buying your first multi-family unit, how I know you have multiple now. How do you proceed to build such a big portfolio as of today?
You know what? I was kind of careful because I'm pretty conservative, and I didn't want to take any investors on, or how people talk about OPM, other people's
Yes.
money,
Yeah.
and it actually sounds pretty gimmicky. Like,
Yes.
oh, you should just get OPM, right?
Yes.
But these are like real people's savings and money. So I was I was really careful, maybe a little bit too careful, where I was kind of just using my own money and
Yes.
then trying to I bought some properties before that, a little bit like smaller ones, and then refinancing, and then kind of
Yes.
slowly building that portfolio until there's a point where like no way I could buy any more properties on my own. And
Yes.
then that's when I just said, you know what, like I've been doing this for so long that I'm very confident I can get this done, right,
Yes.
with investors. So yeah, I started raising capital. Like I talked to a friend at work, and then he somehow he said, yeah, I'll give you 50 grand, like I'll give you
Yes.
$50,000. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. And then
Yes.
I went to like my brother-in-law, and then I got money from them as well, and then like slowly kind of other people, but um, whether that's like equity or via loans, right? Like I kind of
Yes.
combine the two depending on what people needed, what they wanted. But I'll say I think I underestimated how much work it is to using other people's money in
Yeah,
deals.
exactly. Because it's a trust, right? You have to refund them. They believe in you to give that money, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly. They believe in you, and then you got to be a man of integrity.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So you got to make sure that happens versus like on my own properties early on, like I described that fourplex.
Yes.
If I would lose some money or if I make money, who cares? It's a learning experience, right? But this is like, no, this is no longer the game.
Yes. Yes. You have to deliver. Yes.
Yeah,
You have to yeah.
absolutely. So I started kind of slowly positioning projects, and then bigger and bigger projects, and then now we're bidding on a $10 million project, right? This
Wow.
this
10 million or
previous
10 billion?
million
10
for now.
million. All right.
So
I mean, just one project. I know you have some apartment that already cost that, but just different level of project. Yes.
right,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. And just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Now, like giving the now you invest, giving the situation of the real estate market in Canada, for instance, like rising interest rates. For instance, like year over year, like in Canada, for instance, I think the rate went from 2.5. I mean the Fed rate, right, for 2.5 to 5%. This is the cost of renting is also increasing. The borrowing cost is increasing. Do you believe uh, is this can this be considered as an impediment to enter the market now, or just to wait the rate to go down before we come back in? What is your perspective on that?
So the question is if that's kind of stopping investors, or
Yeah,
if it's a
is it?
good
Yeah,
time to
is
get
that
in,
stopping?
or you should
Yeah,
wait.
you
We
should
should
wait.
wait.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I Real estate is pretty amazing. So unlike stocks, unlike crypto, unlike anything, you see the wealthiest people in the world, or families. They all have a large piece of real estate within their portfolio.
Yes.
So traditionally, they have about 30% of their portfolio, or one third, and that's real estate assets. And then
Yes.
why do they have that? And then they hold those assets for long periods of time. Um, I absolutely love real estate because it's such in Canada specifically, some places in the U.S. I don't know the markets globally, but this is applicable in many different places. So it doesn't have to be Canada. I'm sure in Europe or in
Oh,
Africa or
ah,
wherever there are
yes.
places where there's stable real estate. So Ontario happens to be very stable, and I find that it's an asset where you look at kind of the basics. So when you're looking at the market, you look at, okay, is there an abundance of housing? And in Ontario, there isn't. We have such
Yes.
housing shortage. It's like
Yes.
politicians are screaming that they're going to do something about it, which we know our government will never do anything or
Yes.
even close to make an impact, which is actually favorable for an investor purchasing because there will be a demand.
Yes.
Now, next, you look at like simple supply demand. So, who's coming into the country? Like last year, Canada welcomed 1 million people into the
Yes.
country,
Yes.
which for 38 million population, that's a lot. That's a
Yes.
lot. And then half of them landed in Ontario.
Yes.
So traditionally immigrants, just like me, when we were kids, we rented. We didn't have money to buy. So that's what's happening. There's a huge shortage. Like when we're renting out units, there's a lineup out the door because people are looking for housing.
Yes.
And to build new housing, it's so expensive that really it's difficult to build a rental building nowadays because of
Yes.
the cost of building. So
Yes.
you look at kind of like all those things together. And then on the other hand, and then notice I haven't even mentioned interest rates. I haven't
Yes.
talked about what the media is saying, because the media sells themselves, right? They want you to listen because there's a crisis, there is this. They're always selling fear. And then really, because fundamentals are not as exciting. So interest rates this, interest rates that. But think about it, if you're holding a property for 20 years, what do you care if it's 7%, the interest rates, or 6% or 5%? Like traditionally, at least in Canada, the US and UK, real estate almost always outpaces inflation, which is
Okay.
what you're thinking about. Is this a good asset? Like, where can I put my money because prices are increasing? Like I don't know, your car value is going down, right? Everything is worth, goods are worth less, but real estate continues to increase.
Yeah.
So
Sorry to interrupt. You mean outpacing on? I mean the appreciation of the house is outpacing the inflation. But what about the rent? Like for instance, let us assume that you have like a 10 unit. I know we won't really touch tenants here, but it's just about running some numbers. Like let us assume that you have a 10 unit renting, and you have, let us assume, a variable rate, and you can break even every month on the cost you pay at the mortgage payment you make every month or bi-weekly, whatever contract you have with the bank. um isn't that a risk to have like a high interest rate while the tenant paying the rent cannot cover the cost you have to pay to the bank, although knowing that down the road, like 10 year 20 years from now, you can recover all those costs through the appreciation of the actual house?
So what happened is we had a bunch of really high inflation, but rents have been going up
As well.
by
Okay.
even higher amount than the inflation.
Oh,
Like
that
we saw
inflation.
that,
All right. Okay.
and it really outpaced inflation. So in all the markets where we're investing, we saw that the rents are going up at like really high levels. So
Yes.
then they more than make up for the increased payments from the bank. So that's kind of the unique thing about real estate. Yes, at the beginning there is concern because the higher mortgage, then that compresses the cash flow. But then if you start re-renting units, have gone up, and then there's more income. So that's why when I say it outpaces inflation,
All right.
that's what
I
I
see.
mean.
Okay.
And in real estate, waiting it's almost always a bad idea, right? If you're investing for long periods of time. I know people that have been waiting for a housing crash for 10 years.
Yes. Yeah. I know some people like that as well. Yes. Yes.
There are blips of time where real estate, residential, not apartment buildings, have
Yes.
gone up and then gone down a bit. That happens. So it's a timing. But if you're investing for 10 years, or if you're investing for 15 years, you're going to recover from that blip,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's just buy and wait rather than wait to buy.
Yes.
It's kind
Okay.
of like
Okay.
a
Yeah.
opposite. And unless you're buying, flipping for short kind of investment, which I'm never interested in kind of quick money, or because that's to me that's pretty risky. So don't wait, but also you got to look at fundamentals.
Yes.
You don't want to buy a property which cash flows negative
Yes.
significantly, and then that doesn't only weigh you down financially, it weighs you down mentally, and then you hate this investment. Like, why do you have it? Why do I have to, like, instead of taking the family on vacation, I got to add to this thing every single month, right? That's not a good investment.
Agree.
It's got to make sense.
Yes. It becomes like a liability, not an investment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just kind of looking at it, this is like the media's talking about these crashes, and but there always are. If you do research, what the media has been talking about for the test 10 years, every year they come up with something like that.
Yes.
And if you would kind of not, if you'd stop, get paralyzed, and then not invest, I don't know, I wouldn't even have one property if I thought like that.
Exactly. That's the point, right? That's why sometimes you just have to jump and face the consequence as you are going. Yeah. I will do like a quick summary of what you said earlier. Quand j'ai posé tout à l'heure à Michael comment, si vous n'avez pas les fonds, comment vous organisez, il a dit, par exemple, il faut travailler, il faut investir. Maintenant, aussi, il faut, avant de contacter peut-être des gens pour avoir des supports d'investissement, il faut d'abord investir par soi-même. Donc, il faut avoir ses moyens, étudier le marché, construire une certaine expérience. Et quand on est maintenant confortable, on a construit cette expérience-là, on peut travailler avec, par exemple, la famille ou des amis, qu'il a commencé avec d'abord les membres de sa famille, après les amis, il a commencé à acheter plusieurs appartements. Mais avant d'y arriver, il avait déjà sa maison qui était déjà payée. Il avait déjà 2 propriétés qui lui appartenaient déjà. Et quand il a réalisé que avoir accès au financement à travers la banque n'était plus possible parce qu'il avait déjà maximisé son effet de levier. Et pour pouvoir continuer à investir, il fallait qu'il travaille soit avec des amis, la famille, pour pouvoir et créer un réseau d'investisseurs pour pouvoir continuer à investir. Et c'est comme ça qu'il a réussi à acheter plusieurs appartements qu'il met en location aujourd'hui. Et aussi, il dit que pour se lancer dans une telle aventure, il faut être un individu intègre, OK? Parce qu'il ne faut pas prendre l'argent des gens, ne pas avoir la compétence et l'expérience et aller le perdre. Ça vous crée plutôt des problèmes à long terme. Vous pouvez vous retrouver en prison, par exemple. Alors, je lui ai posé la question de savoir qu'est-ce qu'il pensait de la hausse des taux d'intérêt, si ça avait un impact sur les décisions à prendre au niveau de l'investissement dans l'immobilier. Il a dit que au Canada, par exemple, le marché qui maîtrise mieux, et que ce soit en Europe ou en Afrique, qu'il faut d'abord identifier des marchés stables, OK, où il n'y a pas de risques politiques. Et il a dit que, par exemple, en Ontario, on n'a pas ce genre de risques-là. Il a dit que, par exemple, en Ontario, les maisons qu'on achète s'apprécient graduellement pendant des années. Donc, il n'y a pas une année où, il n'y a pas des années successives où le prix des maisons en Ontario baisse. Le plus ça monte, ça continue à monter graduellement. Donc, ça veut dire qu'il y a une appréciation au niveau de la valeur de ces maisons-là. Aussi, là, qu'il n'y a pas de risque à ce niveau-là à cause des taux d'intérêt. Il a aussi dit que si vous regardez bien le taux d'inflation, quoique le taux d'inflation soit élevé, que le rent, donc le loyer que les gens payent le plus souvent dépasse en termes de croissance le taux d'inflation. OK, donc même si vous achetez une maison, si le taux d'inflation monte, vous devez automatiquement augmenter les loyers pour pouvoir pallier à cette perte que vous allez réaliser là. Donc, il a parlé de ça. Alors, il a aussi parlé du fait qu'en Ontario, par exemple, au Canada en général, on a ce problème-là. On a reçu 1 million d'immigrants l'année dernière et 500 000 de ces immigrants sont venus plutôt du côté de l'Ontario. Et ce qui se passe, c'est qu'il n'y a pas assez de logements pour les recevoir. Il devient de plus en plus difficile et de plus en plus coûteux aux builders, aux constructeurs de maisons de construire des maisons. Donc, ce qui se passe, c'est qu'il y a un manque d'offre et de la demande, ce qui fait que les prix des maisons augmentent et les prix de loyer augmentent. Il a parlé de ça. Et il a dit que aussi en achetant, il faut prêter attention aux fondamentaux. Comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, comprendre le marché et comprendre pourquoi vous investissez, faire des recherches personnelles avant de vous y lancer. Thank you, Michael. I just did a quick translation of what you told me. I know we are already 34 minutes in the interview, and I know you have to go. Any last advice you can provide to people listening to you?
You know what? I wanted to say one more quick thing, and I think it's important.
Yes.
So for us, when we look at apartment buildings, we don't only, because so far we talked about the market, the appreciation. It's almost like you are super dependent on the market, but there's more to it, right? And then this is why I absolutely love real estate. So when you have an apartment building, we buy with investors, we buy average apartment buildings and we
Yes.
turn them into pretty amazing communities. So what does that mean? Like we're trying to add value, make these buildings nicer, and then try to
Yes.
add value to tenants
Yes.
and to the overall building. It's just like a business. If you
Yes.
can generate more revenue because people are happy
Yes.
to pay for extra services or nicer looking building,
Yes.
then automatically the value of that building goes up. And then that's regardless of what the market does. You're not dependent just on the market. The more value you can add, the more income you can generate with the building, the better.
Yes.
So there's an aspect of actually taking control, which is called forced appreciation, because you're forcing the building to go up
Yes.
without kind of counting in the market. Yes, so you're making money because there's natural appreciation. You're making money because there's mortgage pay down, there are tax write-offs, but
Yes.
then there's this aspect of forced appreciation as well. So if you have so many different ways that a building can make money, that's why people are, I would say a lot of people are obsessed about real estate and investing in real estate. And that's why
Yes.
kind of we draw in investors, because we don't only depend on the market. Like there's so many different ways that you can kind of, the money can be made on these buildings. And they're stable assets, right? They're things you can touch. They're just won't disappear in a day. If they disappear in a day, there was a meteoroid or something hit the building, and I'm sure like insurance will cover it to build it
Yes.
back up, right?
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
physical, tangible thing.
Yes.
But in terms of the last I would say advice is if you don't have real estate in your portfolio, is definitely, I mean, it's definitely something that look at the trend of the wealthiest people for
Yes.
generations and generations and generations. They owned real estate.
Yeah.
So the best time to get into real estate was yesterday, and the
Yes.
second best time is to get in today.
Today.
Right?
Yes.
uh, in an
Yes.
educated, logical way, but take the leap.
Yes. Yes. I'll just summarize that very quick. Ce que Mike a ajouté, il disait que il ne faut pas seulement investir dans l'immobilier. Quand vous investissez dans l'immobilier, il faut prendre par exemple un appartement et faire des réflexions pour pouvoir créer une grande communauté autour de cet appartement-là. OK? Parce que il faut que vos locataires soient contents, apprécient le travail que vous avez fait. Parce qu'en quelque sorte, ça donne de la valeur euh, dans l'environnement dans lequel vous opérez et ça donne de la valeur aussi à l'appartement que vous avez acheté et vous pouvez charger des loyers un peu plus élevés parce que c'est agréable, ça permet aux locataires de s'y épanouir. Donc, il faut ajouter des services extra. Par exemple, si vous êtes en Afrique, par exemple, il faut ajouter peut-être des connexions Internet parce qu'ici, souvent, ça vient automatiquement pour pouvoir faciliter, créer un bon environnement à ses locataires. Aussi, il y a beaucoup d'avantages. Par exemple, quand vous investissez dans l'immobilier, par exemple, il y a certains impôts que vous pouvez effacer facilement. Et il a aussi dit que si vous n'avez pas d'investissement immobilier dans votre portefeuille, c'est que vous vous trompez totalement parce que à travers l'histoire, il a été démontré que les personnes qui passent les richesses de génération en génération le font à travers l'immobilier. OK? Donc, et vous allez voir qu'avec le temps, l'immobilier double, quadruple, et c'est comme ça qu'on construit de la richesse. C'est ce qu'il voulait, il a dit à l'instant. Mike, I know this is we were supposed to talk only about real estate. Do you know anything? Because most of these people in this channel, there is more cryptocurrency. Have you ever heard of cryptocurrency or invested in anything in that sense?
Of course, I've heard of cryptocurrency. I
Yes,
don't have any investments in crypto, and it's not because I don't believe in it. It's just I don't know it.
exactly. Yes,
So so I like things that I know, and then I've
yes,
invested, like years and years and years learning real estate, and I breathe it. So
yes,
so that's the reason. But you know what? A lot of people do both. I don't think
yes,
real estate's the one thing. It could be both, right? I just choose to. I'm an all-in-one kind of guy, and then this is
Yes,
all I do for a living.
yes,
So
real estate.
I gotta be in real estate. But
Focus in real
yeah.
estate. Yes. Ce que Marc vient de dire, c'est que il en a entendu parler des crypto-monnaies, mais néanmoins, il n'a jamais investi sur les crypto-monnaies parce que il ne s'y connaît vraiment pas en termes il ne connaît pas les fondamentaux, il ne connaît pas les aboutissants, les tenants, les aboutissements. Mais néanmoins, il croit que c'est un bon investissement. Et pour lui, il se concentre plus dans son domaine d'expertise qui est l'immobilier parce qu'il y trouve satisfaction. Donc, en quelque sorte, dépendamment de vos préférences aussi, il y a certaines personnes qui pensent que peut-être la crypto-monnaie, c'est leur sac d'expertise. Il peut y demeurer, mais je pense qu'il est souvent bien de diversifier. Surtout, le secteur immobilier est plus stable et il y a des données séculaires qui montrent que l'immobilier s'accroît et s'apprécie avec le temps. Mais ce n'est pas le cas avec les crypto-monnaies. C'est un actif très risqué. C'est pour ça qu'à certains moments, il faut prendre les profits qu'on réalise et aller le mettre dans un investissement plus stable, qui est peut-être l'immobilier. C'est pour ça que j'ai invité Mike aujourd'hui. Mike, thank you so much. I know how busy you are, and I don't want to take too much of your time anymore. Before we close this interview, any last words?
Thanks for having me, Christian. And then you know what? I should set up a lunch with you so you can teach me more about crypto.
I would love to do that. That is my field of expertise, and I have a lot to teach you, my friend. I wouldn't mind doing that. We can take that offline.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
my friend. We keep in touch. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bon, avant de conclure, j'espère que vous avez aimé l'entretien. En sommet, les amis, le bull market arrive et ne faites pas les erreurs que les autres font, c'est-à-dire vous investissez, vous réalisez beaucoup de profits et vous laissez l'argent dans les crypto-monnaies. Je connais des gens qui ont perdu des millions, je ne dis pas 1 million, 2 millions, j'ai dit des millions, ça veut dire qu'ils se sont fait beaucoup d'argent pendant le bull run et ils rêvaient toujours que le marché devait continuer à augmenter. OK? Non, il ne faut pas faire ces erreurs-là. Quand vous réalisez du profit, il faut avoir un backup plan. Il faut avoir un autre véhicule d'investissement où mettre vos sous. Et je pense que l'immobilier est important. OK? Et juste pour disclosure, pour déclarer, nous, le groupe salarié affranchi, investit dans l'immobilier. OK? Donc, je pense que dans un environnement comme l'Ontario, c'est un environnement vraiment stable. Il y a des environnements, il y a des marchés en Afrique, en Europe vraiment stables. Ça veut dire que si vous y investissez, c'est un peu ça. Vous ne perdez pas votre argent. OK? Au moins, l'immobilier s'apprécie de 10%, 20% par an. En Ontario, tous les 10 ans, le prix de l'immobilier double. Je ne sais pas si ça sera le cas dans le futur, mais je sais que pendant les 30 dernières années, l'immobilier, tous les 10 ans, ont doublé. Donc, si vous avez acheté une maison il y a 10 ans, aujourd'hui, c'est le double, voire plus. Et nous vivons cette expérience-là ici. OK? Donc, pendant le prochain bull market, je sais que j'insiste sur le prochain bull market et j'insiste encore en disant, les gars, il faut vous y préparer. Si vous réalisez des retours, il faut savoir où vous positionner. Parce que quand le marché pendant le bull market, vous n'avez pas le temps de penser parce que votre adrénaline, OK, vous met dans un état d'extase. Vous croyez toujours, en quelque sorte, d'orgasme, d'extase. Vous ne savez même pas comment penser parce que vous êtes très excité. Et c'est là que vous faites beaucoup d'erreurs. Néanmoins, si vous avez un plan d'exit, vous prenez cet argent, vous déterminez un marché dans lequel investir et vous le faites. Ou bien vous gardez votre argent cash quand la période d'extase est finie, prendre des décisions par rapport au prochain plan. Ne laissez pas vos sous dans les cryptos actifs pendant le bull run. OK? Il faut avoir une stratégie d'exit. OK, j'espère que vous avez aimé. À la prochaine.